Hello and welcome to the Career Empowerment Podcast. My name is Kyle Gantos, and I believe you are happier when you love your work and the people you share it with. In 2013, I founded MeetYourGig.com with a single mission: to empower purpose-driven business leaders with the competitive advantage, confidence, and connections to maximize career fulfillment. And over the past 3 years, I'm proud to say that our innovative training has helped over 1,000 executives cultivate a steady stream of target jobs, launch consulting businesses, and increase sales. My goal for this, the Career Empowerment Podcast, is to share valuable perspective, inspirational stories, and actionable tips to help you do the same. When I'm not interviewing visionary entrepreneurs, market disrupting innovators, or rockstar clients, I plan to field your questions and transform any challenge into a growth opportunity. In this first ever episode of the Career Empowerment Podcast, I'm excited to introduce you to a gentleman with some truly refreshing leadership perspective, humility, and values. If you haven't found your dream boss, partner, or client, this man will illustrate that the perfect fit is out there if you have the courage to pursue your vision. Moreover, his organizational development philosophy and formula for sustained employee and customer success will inspire you to work smarter to advance your career or business. Kerry Stover is the Chief Operations Officer at Pariveda Solutions, a leading management consulting firm headquartered in Dallas-Fort Worth. Prior to architecting and fueling the unprecedented 10-time Inc. magazine 5,000 fastest growing company, he spent time at world-class organizations Siemens and Accenture before founding and scaling his own startup. Kerry sits on multiple boards, is an active volunteer, a husband of 35 years, and a father of 2. Needless to say, you're going to learn something by absorbing his wisdom. So without further ado, meet Kerry.
Kyle, I'm honored. I'm Kerry Stover. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Pariveda Solutions. My role is the COO is really what the CEO doesn't want to do. So my job is I'm accountable for all sales and delivery activities of our consulting work across the U.S.
Wow, and that I know that the company's been expanding rapidly, and just some of my own preliminary research going to the website. I know it's an employee-owned company, which is very, very unique. And certainly, Kerry, we talked briefly before our chat today, and you've obviously built a very unique culture. And I just one of my first questions I want to ask you is, what's one aspect of your work that you're most passionate about?
I'd say the reason that I really get up every day and enjoy being part of Pariveda is its commitment to developing people, and my ability to have a lens and to take the lens of developing people in the decision-making process. It is our core purpose to develop people to their fullest potential, everybody in the company. And we tell everybody when they join, you have an opportunity to get to vice president in our company. My role is I'm accountable for our 550-ish consultants across the company. I deal daily with roughly 30 of them in various ways. And it's really not a management role, but it's around a talent development role that I get to put a lens on how I help them through decision-making, how we work through the ways of strategizing for the future. That is a real pleasure.
And before we get to the next question, I want to pause there and go into that a little bit more, because I think one of the things we're always trying to do is try to help people further develop themselves. And I think, a lot of companies may say the right thing, but it's evident with your unprecedented growth that it really does start at an individual level. How do you, maybe it sounds simple, but execution, to be able to do that to 500 people, and to maintain it and to grow it, and to inspire it to, I'm assuming, to be passed down from them to their team. How, maybe if you wouldn't mind just to go a little bit more in depth in that, and anything else you would add to, to say it's one thing, to execute it is something altogether different. And, what's your secret there? How do you execute that?
I believe every company has a purpose. It's founded for a purpose. Companies exist to do something, and people make decisions based upon the purpose that they see that they're fulfilling. Pariveda was founded uniquely by Bruce Ballinger, the CEO and founder, when he was ready to retire, but friends asked him to start a consulting company. And he said he'd only do it if it would be about developing people. And from that moment, we have set our purpose as to be around developing people. Holding purpose, understanding purpose is critical. Employees, if you don't have a stated purpose, and then your employees know what the purpose is. And you may not like the way that they phrase it. It may be because the founders are here to get rich, and they know that. And they just maybe think they're going to get rich along with them. It may be that there's great customer success stories that the company wants to do. Whatever the purpose is, it is central to your decision-making. We are centered on the belief that there is greatness in developing people, to be great people, to be great advisors, to be great architects, and that companies would benefit from our consulting services from those people. So each decision we make is flavored by how does it help us develop people? And if you keep that center, it allows us to keep that a focus. If your intention is to build a company that is to have an exit strategy for the founders, you have that in your decision-making model. That's not bad. It just isn't going to be as fulfilling to everybody as something that is about what people get from being with you versus what the founders get from building a company that's flipped at some point in time.
Wow, anyone who knows me, anyone who's worked with me, that answer just gave me goosebumps, and it's refreshing. It's refreshing to hear, and more refreshing to actually see it in action, and to know that I'm assuming by that nature, you're attracting people who want to be developed. You're attracting people who have purpose. You're attracting people who want to be the best they can be and want to be in a culture where everyone is pushing them to be, and decisions are getting made for the right reasons, as opposed to maybe for the interests of just a few. So I really have tremendous respect for that, and I know a lot of our listeners will as well. Just to build on that, Kerry, what's your philosophy or your formula for sustained professional success? And I know maybe there's some overlap here, but just as a separate question, what's your general philosophy or formula?
People build their expertise and often don't build their persuasive abilities at the same time, and their network that goes with that. And so I believe professional success is about building a set of relationships that surround you while building your skills and expertise in whatever field you are, either as an executive, as an entrepreneur, as an individual contributor in a professional practice of some sort. That going deep in a subject is great, but if you don't have the network that people trust for you to advise them with, and that you can help share how they can benefit from your ideas, then you're subject to what others call you for and what you're known for, rather than you in a network, rather than just having a network of your own that people know you and will call you. So we teach at Pariveda the value of everybody straight out of college staying in touch with the people that you went to school with. They're going to grow in their careers. It's hard to call somebody when you're out trying to sell something, quote unquote, and you haven't talked to them for 10 or 20 years. How good of a friend are you? How good of a connection are you? So people often rise to a level of expertise and forget that they needed a network along the way. And early in your career, for those of you aspiring to be professional executives someday, build that network and make it real and active in your life on a daily basis.
Wow. Very, very powerful. Kerry, one thing I find interesting with a lot of the entrepreneurs, executives, successful people I've met is they always seem to your point, kind of the network within a network, mentors, advisors who've had a profound impact on either them professionally or personally. I wonder if you can think of one mentor, and maybe you have several, but if you could think of one mentor and how they impacted your career trajectory.
I think that the one that was most impactful was in my second step on my journey in my professional career, when I moved to work with what is now Accenture, and I worked for a gentleman by the name of Dave Armour. And Dave was always able to see opportunity in the midst of anything. And it really taught me that whatever the situation is, there is opportunity, there is growth, there is a positive aspect to it. There is, instead of seeing threats, to look for opportunities and ways to enhance and develop and go beyond what the art of the possible is. And by being that mindset, that growth mindset, and being creative, you can go beyond what many people see. And so I give Dave a lot of credit for that, as I worked with him for the first 10 years of my consulting career, and an amazing man who I still remember today.
Wow. Couple questions here. I think that probably some people would love to answer, and then others would, kind of cringe. And we'll start with the fun one for many. Which professional achievement are you most proud of, Kerry, and why?
I'd say the point where I felt, and I still hold it with pride, is when I was named partner at Accenture. It happened right as my mother was dying, and it was very fulfilling for her to know that was about to happen even on her deathbed, and it made me feel very proud to have been a son that fulfilled, because she didn't get to go to college. She wanted all the kids to go off to college and do something, and it allowed her to see something from her only son in the last days of her life.
What an amazing feeling that must have been for both. Let me ask you this. I appreciate your, opening up to us, Kerry. I really do appreciate that. What would you say? And then this is, I think, I always find it fascinating how, as a society, I think we tend to look at failure as a bad thing, and I think that diminishes the hard work and the learning opportunities that come with failure, and we kind of idolize successes, but as a society, we tend to overlook all the hard work and the learning opportunities, the time and the effort that went into becoming or achieving that level of success. And if you wouldn't mind, what would you say is your greatest failure, or I should say learning experience, and how did it make you better?
2009 was not a good year for a lot of companies, Pariveda included, and we thought we had prepared ourselves and could ride out the recession. And we have a sabbatical program, so I was in charge as our CEO was on sabbatical that summer. And we had clients defaulting on us. We had issues with the bank, who was our line of credit covenants were way out of whack. We had to do something, and we came to the conclusion we needed to cut back. And the learning moment to me was in the face of having to admit that we couldn't ride out this when we thought people could come, to admit we had not been transparent with people, that we were surprising them with the news because we had not been as transparent with our financials with them. And also the learning moment was to hold the purpose of developing people. So instead of doing what many consulting companies would do, which is who's on the bench and you're out of a job, we looked and said, who has the most potential and who is not going to have the longest term potential with us? And we made decisions about the potential. And if people were deemed to be on the lowest potential range, they were told that they would be given a full severance. We did not cut back our severance policy. They were told that they had until the contract they were working on would would end, that then they would go on severance. So that would give them, in some cases, 6 months of runtime before they found a new job, before they got their severance, and many found their jobs right away, when they went to look. And when we announced it to the company that we had this layoff, we had told everybody in advance. Everybody was treated fairly in terms of the sense that most of the people who were laid off, I think only one was on the bench. We laid off people and had to dip into our pockets to hold on to our principle of we're going to treat people as humans and we're going to focus on talent development. And while the bubble burst, that we couldn't ride out the recession, we sort of created a new strengthened feeling about our commitment to our purpose that people who were here now 9 years ago can still recall that day, and how proud they felt of the way in which we treated people. And we didn't just do what any company would do. We dipped into our pockets to hold true to our values and make that commitment. So I felt really bad about not being able to guide the company through the recession. And I feel really bad about having to let people go that I made a commitment to. But most of them came and still are in relationships with us in our alumni network and hold on to that day and have gone on to goodness in their careers, and people here still remember how we treated them as a watermark event for how we are committed to our values.
Wow. Talk about integrity right there. I don't know if anybody else is listening, but I want to learn more. I really respect the values, and you can hear the genuineness in it. And again, Kerry, I know that probably a lot of people would never even have the courage to go there with that answer, but I appreciate your transparency, and it says a lot about who you are and Pariveda as well. You've shared a lot of positive things that I would think that anyone who's looking for a fulfilling, purpose-driven career would be excited about. But is there anything you haven't mentioned when I ask the question, what's the best part about working for Pariveda Solutions?
In order to set up an environment where we can focus on purpose, we remove friction. So, for example, we don't have quotas on promotions. So in many firms, quotas are made and people are placed into quartiles, and only people in certain quartiles can get certain things. So we remove the friction by saying so we publish all of the expectations of performance at every level of the company across 50 to 60 different competencies. And we create a short description, and it's published, people can read it. And we tell people, if you want to be promoted, make certain that you're demonstrating that you're meeting the expectations of your current level, and that you can then see what the expectation changes are at the next level, and you can see that you can begin to show the opportunity for that. So people are willing to collaborate because they know that they're not competing for a scarcity model called promotions. They're not competing against salary ranges because everybody at the same level in the company gets paid the same amount, subject to a geo cost of labor acquisition differential for higher cost markets. And so we're not competing all the college hires join us. They get a starting salary higher than last year's college hires, and they make almost as much money as the people who joined us, 2 years ago. That's not fair. Anytime we bring in college hires and our college hire increases, it ripples up all the way through the company so that we don't have different salary schedules based upon what year you go. Again, the goal is to remove friction to create collaboration, which will be in the best interest of developing people because they're willing to help each other grow. And it turns out to be a great deal for our clients who get tremendously inspired people who want to do great things, and they're not threatened by if they do something, it might not. If they help one of their friends, it might help the client, but it might not let them look so good. We take that out of the equation.
Wow. Having worked in a lot of different environments, some where you could see where the incentives were, some where you could see the structure maybe what the goal was, the structure was not conducive to making that happen. I just the more you share, the more excited I get. Not only for anyone in the workforce who's been dreaming of what Kerry's describing, but also you can see how that you can immediately see the value that your organization provides to clients, because if you can help them understand at the top level down the benefits of thinking a little bit differently than most companies, then it still takes a commitment. It still has to happen. But if they see it, and then you can help them understand it, and then build a process around it, I can just imagine the value that you guys have created for your clients. It's a different way of thinking, and in my mind, and hopefully many of those who are listening, it makes the world a better place. Takes special people to do it, and be committed to it. But it's incredibly fulfilling, I imagine, to be a part of it. So, so Kerry, when we look at the future, what excites you about Pariveda Solutions? You've talked about the purpose and the mission it was built on. You've talked about some of the obstacles that you've had to go through as an organization and what you learned from it. You've talked about your fundamental philosophy and how it's individually built. You've removed the friction. As you peer ahead and all this opportunity, and then I suppose chaos in different markets, and what do you see? What excites you about the future?
When Bruce and I we talk about building a company that is better in the marketplace and for developing people than the one that we leave behind. And it won't be seen by the second generation of leaders who are those that have learned from us and been with us, but it's going to be from the third generation of leaders 20, 30 years from now who never met us, never knew of us except in history books of Pariveda, and they're building a better and growing a better company than the one that we left. That's our aspiration. When I came to Pariveda, it was Bruce's intention that we build a company that would live for 100, 1,000 years, that one would be infinite in nature, so that it wasn't out to be subject to the sways of any CEO, but its purpose was held true. And so for me, the purpose is really, am I building the future leaders that will do this job in an environment that I can't predict, I can't understand, because it will have different technologies, different socioeconomic implications, and they're adaptive enough and bright enough and can lean on the experience and the principles we taught them to apply new ways of doing things under the same principles in that market that I can't see. That's my objective. And so I hope to be on a beach someday reading about that third generation of leadership and their success in the Wall Street Journal while I'm relaxing and just put a smile on my face.
I can visualize it. Gosh, and every answer is better than the last one, and I hope there's a lot to learn from what we're discussing, what Kerry's sharing here. Kerry, I don't even know what you have left in the tank to be able to answer this question, but it's if I wrote you a blank check, how would you invest it into Pariveda?
You're going to be surprised at this answer, but we wouldn't take it.
I am surprised, but I'm curious as the reason.
Well, we have been self-funded since our founding, and it causes us to have a sense of stewardship for the future, and a sense of ownership mentality, and the ability to make decisions in the moment to do certain things. And what I would hate to do is have a source of funding that didn't have sort of a burden to carry, if you will, that would allow people to get something for, and just using your analogy as you shared it, for free, or with some other implication, whatever it is, and then have to change their decision-making style for a moment and lose that sense of we built this on our own and it's our money and it's our company's and it's our employees' money that we have at hand. And so that's sort of why we really value that aspect of it. And the blank check. Would I love to have some money to go open up international offices and get there faster? Sure. And if I found money on the street and I needed, if you did give it to me, we would probably accelerate the geographic expansion faster and do some other things in our talent development. But we're good with the pace we've got because it is what we can do with our money and our essentially our companies and its employee owners' money.
Gosh, I've asked that question hundreds and hundreds of times, and I always learned something, and I'm always fascinated. But I feel like we were separated at birth a long time. We share a lot of the similar outlook on life, and granted, you've accomplished some things that I hope to say I have been able to do someday. But just what a unique perspective, and I think if more people and organizations share that perspective, yeah, gosh, just imagine the world that we would live in. I love that. Really, really appreciate that answer. Just two more questions for you. I know your time is valuable and probably running a little bit long, but I really appreciate the feedback you're providing today. Second to last question, Kerry. When you bring on someone into your organization, and I would say probably for your organization at any level, but when you think about an executive level leader, if you were going to build or grow your team, let's just say you were opening that international office, and you were looking for an executive to basically build it, manage it, make it better. What differentiators would you look for? It's not hard to find degrees. It's not hard to find years of experience. But what are some of the differentiators you look for when you're hiring an executive level leader?
Our brand identity, which sort of defines the type of people we hire, is that we are constant learners. So we use the phrase "learn always." We are consistent and committed coaches. So coach more is the second phrase. And that we are givers of ideas into the marketplace without worrying about compensation. So we use give back. And so we're looking for someone who has knowledge of how professional services consulting firms work, but they need to be a constant learner. They need to be someone who's committed to coaching, and they need to be a giver. And then, what they can do is realize that they're going to join a firm that is different than any firm they've ever been a part of. And the best thing they can do is to not try and prove we made a good decision hiring them, but to trust us. We know that we did. And to go learn how we do things. Because when you enter a new environment, you often don't realize that your old behaviors were based on a different context of a different company with different culture and different processes. And you want to prove how successful you are and you made a good decision. And we tell people, don't do that. Learn us how we do things. And we'll invest a year of your learning in return for a 10, 15, 20-year run as a vice president, because that's the long-term value. We play the long view game in those executive hires.
Gosh, that was just refreshing. Kerry, I have one more question for you. It wasn't on my original list, but every time I ask you something, you get me pumped up. I really do appreciate, and I mean that sincerely, appreciate your leadership philosophy. This question, again, on the fly, but it occurred to me that I think anyone from any background, no matter what industry, no matter whether they're beginning their career, no matter whether they're 30 years into their career, whether they're perfectly happy with where they're at, they're fulfilled, or whether they're seeking fulfillment, what is one piece of actionable advice that you would give anyone listening, regardless of function, industry, level, role, aspiration? What's one piece of advice that you give anyone listening that would help them advance their career? Or you know what, let's change that a little bit. Help them advance their career and or attain more fulfillment.
Just one. Wow, what a limitation. I'd say.
Well, Kerry, if you've got 7, let's do 7.
No, we won't do 7. But I'd say that I would go with 2 advices, which, well, maybe, you need to learn a lot so that you understand what is happening around you, and you're able to share thoughtful advice, well-reasoned, good plans about how to react in those moments that take into account, when I say learn, not just learn the tactical side of doing the work, but learn the people side, so that your plans are made where the people who have to execute them know that you have taken their perspective into account. Because it's hard for people to follow your learned plans if you haven't learned what matters to them that happens within the plan.
Love it. Thank you very, very much. One quick thing, I want to give an opportunity for anyone who's listening, Kerry. Where can they go to learn more about Pariveda Solutions and as well as perhaps yourself?
You can read about myself, the executive team, and our company at parivedasolutions.com. And if anybody's interested, there's ways to connect, and I'm glad to answer any questions. We have an open forum internally and externally, so if anybody wants to reach out to me, it's kerry.stover@parivedasolutions.com.
Wow, very, very generous. And I perused Kerry's LinkedIn prior to this, and he's got a great piece. It's called "I Know You Believe You Understood What You Think I Said." And it reinforces some of the points that have been made throughout our interview today on just the importance of perspective and communication. And Kerry, I mean, my expectations were high just doing some research on you, and but you blew them out of the water. And I just want to say, just personally, and hopefully on behalf of everyone listening, that just very, very refreshing to hear someone in your position with your philosophy, your mindset. I believe you're doing things the right way. More importantly, I believe the people who are in the same room with you feel that way, and I can imagine how your clients feel as well. So just really humbled and appreciative that you would spare your valuable time with us today, and thank you so much for your insights, and cannot wait to see what happens in the future with Pariveda. And we've gotten some inside look at how it's all made possible, and just thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
It's been my honor to be here. Thank you.
Wow. I don't care who you are, where you've worked, or what you've accomplished. Kerry just shared some pearls of wisdom that can inspire, challenge, and guide you to elevate your standard of excellence. His intelligence and integrity are off the charts to me, and I'm a huge fan of how he approaches life, work, and business. It just goes to show that there are some really amazing people, companies, and opportunities all around you if you just take the time to look, listen, and learn. One episode in, and the bar's been set. It's going to be pretty tough to top that one, and I just want to thank Kerry again for being so gracious with his time. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to our YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, or SoundCloud channels. If you frequent LinkedIn, Facebook, Pinterest, or Twitter, search Meet Your Gig and follow us for additional exclusive content. You can also browse our blog, register for our free newsletter, and enroll in our exclusive free career empowerment training at www.meetyourgig.com. Since 2015, our innovative approach has enabled over 1,000 purpose-driven executives to generate 20,000 plus meetings and interviews with C-level decision makers, earn over 2,500 target jobs and clients, and boost cumulative income by over $12.5 million. Are you next? Take control of your career at meetyourgig.com. And lastly, if you have any job search, client acquisition, or career fulfillment questions or topics that you'd like us to cover, please email them to us at admin@meetyourgig.com, and we'll do our best to share solutions on an upcoming episode. Until next time.